This is gonna be sort of a short video. Um, this is, as you can see by the video right here, it's related to murals, painting murals and artistry. In California, as of this year, 2026, I believe January. Uh, I have it right here. January 1st, 2026. Senate Bill 456 allows painting muralist. So people doing this stuff right here. Well, maybe not this, but maybe some better art. Um, Allows them in California to provide painting services, painting murals, and become a painting contractor without having to get a license. So this creates a whole bunch of opportunities. I was actually a participant on these board meetings for the past several years trying to get this passed. So I was pretty excited to see it get passed and figured if I would do all these efforts to get it passed, I might as well make a video covering when the law was changed and provide it for muralists and some other contractors so they can know. Um, the law change was this year, so I went online and you can't really find much on it on YouTube. Um, Probably because it's so recent, probably because not a lot of people know that in California, all the laws, there's always laws being added. So, um, this is one of those things that turns the tide. It's good to see in California, um, regulations starting to get removed and opportunities given. Uh, I know in New York, I'm doing a study on this. They have similar restrictions on painting muralists. You have to get a license. And the effect of that is not only to restrict business and opportunity, but it's led to some of the graffiti issues in New York. Um, I have the data. I believe in 1990, the cost of graffiti was to the tune of 20 million cost to the state. And again, that cost would probably be a lot less if those artists had freedom as they do in California, as they do in other states. I speak on California. There's many other states like the state of Maine, uh, Texas, Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama. There's many states right now that a lot probably don't know, so that's why I'm giving this info that painting muralists are not required to be licensed and a whole variety of contractors. In the state of Maine, there is no licensing for contractors in general. So if you want to be a painting muralist up to a general contractor, up to a roofer, it's free bars. You know, there's no government body or licensing agency to stop you like there is in California. So that was an issue that I brought up and glad to see it changed. As you can see, this is a micro. I have little micro sheets. But if you go on the California contractor website, CSLB, Contractor State License Board, and you search up painting muralist exemptions, you'll be able to find the laws that I'm talking about. And they also passed, I was also behind getting that law changed too. They expanded the ability to work without a license for handyman in the state. And this was one that still needs work. The previous limit in California was $500 in labor and material, so you could not go over that limit for the total project unlicensed. The effect was that is it was restricting a whole bunch of jobs and making the housing inventory of the state old and dilapidated and So I urged for them to change that. They changed that, but they only changed it to $1,000. So while that $1,000 does provide a lot more opportunity, it's still pretty restrictive. I know now, beforehand, uh, that $500 limit, you couldn't do anything. I mean, by the time you total up the job material cost, you're already at that $500 limit. So the new $1,000 limit provides people maybe. So I'm in the industry, so I know it doesn't help people really who are doing whole installations like siding contractors, roofers, um, but it does help them in service jobs. So the roofers who otherwise couldn't get a license now could provide roofing services, small jobs and repairs, ridge cap repairs or gutter repairs. Um, Plumbing contractors who didn't want to get the license now could do handyman service. This is the good one. This is what eventually I'm going to go on the board meeting again and support that change that we made because for plumbers and electricians, this helps the state by maintaining an adequate standard of housing and ensuring because there's been a drought throughout California. So making these law changes and being able to fix the water leaks and the electrical problems, this all helps the state. So it helps us all. So that's a good change. Still needs a lot of work, that $1,000 limit, because like I said, I talked to the contractor board members and lawmakers or whatever you call them. And I told them, this limit is far too low compared to other states. Um, the licensing is just too restrictive in Washington, Pennsylvania, Montana. There is no licensing, there's a registration system, which is far easier. You have more contractors and painting muralists able to expand and open up because there's not all these testing and education and experience and financial requirements like they have in California or New York or even Oregon. So, um, yeah, as I was saying, it's gotten out of hand. In Tennessee, the limit for unlicensed contracting was 25,000. They raised that limit to 50, Tennessee, yeah, 50,000 in Tennessee. In Alabama, it used to be 50,000. It's now $100,000. You could work on a construction project unlicensed. Um, North Carolina, they raised the limit from 25,000 to 45,000. A lot of states are moving in this direction. So I made that strong case to the California board and said, we need to stay on board with this national effort and making sure opportunities are provided. And they took it, and so I figured I would provide this opportunity and information. Uh, the issue, like I said, painting painting murals doesn't mean just doing all the artistry and all the decorative exterior work. This could be interior murals. I I would probably just be good at leaving this information here and letting the painters and muralists, because they'll know everything they could do with this opportunity. But yeah, you could do inside work, exterior work. You don't even really have to be a muralist. You could go as that muralist title and just paint and just put your signature and that be called. There's ways to work around that law, whereas you still have opportunity. And what else do I got to say? Okay. Um, the determining factor, this is where the determining factor on having whether you need the license or not, as it was if you were on a construction project, anything you install would be technically required to have a license. That isn't how it was, but that's how it was. So if you were a lawn lawn landscape maintenance guy who was just cutting grass, not installing any product or providing any service besides maintenance, you wouldn't need a license. You haven't had to require to hold a license in California, even before these laws. If you were a home inspector, again, who doesn't install anything, just does maintenance and inspections, you don't need a license. Um, an, in, an interior decorator, I'm pretty sure there's ways around the license if you yourself doesn't install the service but only designs. So there's still house cleaners. In California, you don't have to be licensed to be a house cleaner because you're not installing any service. You're not changing or altering a structure. That's kind of the definition they run by. So anytime a structure or building is altered, if it's below $1,000 as of now, you wouldn't need a license. But if it's over that limit, let's say you need a new roof, $20,000 usually is at 15, 10,000. You're gonna have to be licensed on that in California. And that's just how it is now. Um, as I as the point of this video is I would strongly suggest contractors, muralists, and people who care about this topic of freedom and opportunity and ensuring this country, the United States, the so-called land of freedom, rightfully earns that title and maintains that title through being free. And we could do so by doing this and removing these laws and doing so in other states. That's my quick info for contractors for muralists. Um, like I said, uh, if you want to help in making these law changes and helping other states, I would say uh, kind of do the approach I did and start going on these contractor board meetings, these state board meetings, start contacting your state and local offices, start getting active and start educating people around you and getting their opinion and talking about the matter. And that could lead towards the changes that have happened when I did it and when others helped in addressing these laws. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully these law changes provide some much needed opportunities for Californians and for many other businesses throughout the state and industry. And hopefully this information helps with people looking to help and hopefully in removing some of these other laws. Uh, in another video, I'm going to cover this whole issue. Um, it's going to be actually a book review by one of the main American Nobel Prize economist, Milton Friedman, and he's done a lot of work, and he's the economist who I got much of my data and resources from to make the case. And he has a book, a series titled Free to Choose, hence the name Free to Choose. The United States is an economy of freedom, and we support and defend the right for individuals to be free to choose. But in recent years, because of regulations such as this, such as occupational licensing, that are new and which restrict opportunities, we are not a free country and not free to choose. So he has a good quote. Um, he does a lot of good work. He's actually wrote a lot of books In that book, Free to Choose, he actually talks on occupational licensing as a major detriment to the economy in recent years. It injures our freedoms and a whole bunch of other problems with that. But he generalizes where we're at by saying um, we are an overregulated, overtaxed, and overgoverned society and economy at the present. You can't become a painter or a lawyer or a plumber or a host of other jobs just because you want to. You need government permission now. So 100 years ago, time of Madison, Franklin, and Jefferson, you had those freedoms. Today you don't. So that's the case that he tries to warn us of. He said this is a false direction. We need to move away from these government regulations and back towards freedom. And if we do that, as we see here with licensing, uh, we get just that. We get more freedom, more opportunity, and a system that works. So I'll keep it there. The video's already pretty long. I got to go do some printing and send out some of this information to other states. So there's some other states like New York that are facing these licensing issues and uh, effects on the economy because they are overregulated. So uh, what I'm going to do right now is actually go print up one of those letters which I sent to the California board and see if I could get the same process going in New York and get some things going. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys.